We don't see you on the camera. We only see your shadow.
The shadow.
Shadow, tu vois. C'est live.
The shadow. Shadow knows.
Story will be on counter like the for the video. Like first we look very. We'll just see your shadow. We'll just see your shadow.
It adjusts. For me, it adjusted by itself, yeah. It's okay now.
Yeah, are we ready?
Yep.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, the door is hanging there. This thing charges fast. What wampum did we leave?
46.
46. Is that too low? It's too loud, huh?
A bit.
Okay. How's that? Still too loud.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right there?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Alright, I'm gonna do a job course for serious now. Because he does really, you just go and really on just explain this stuff, or I'm not that really. Well, start off by saying now we'll go for the good food. We are lucky that we are not only able to get together to still carry this out, the recital, but that we still have food. Not to forget that there's people all around the earth that do not have food. Not just in countries that are considered third world countries. There's people right here in this country, in first world countries, that are starving, that are going hungry. So we give thanks that we're still able to have that medicine, and we give thanks that the medicine for the medicine that the woman prepared. Okay, so where we left off, we were 45, and before we continue, just in case if there was anything, any questions or anything that came to mind that anybody had to address on this, we'll take a minute. If not, then we'll continue. Every wampum, of course, there's a lot of things to consider. There's, as you know, in the discussions, there's a lot more that is addressed of it than just the mere reading of that one on the border. So there should always be a lot of reflection on these things. Okay, so wampum 46. If the female heirs of a chieftainship title becomes extinct, the title right shall be given by the chiefs of the confederacy to the sister family, whom they shall appoint, and that family shall hold the name and transmit it to their female heirs. But they shall not appoint any of their sons as a king for a title until all the eligible men of the former family shall have died or otherwise have become ineligible. I don't know if you understand what that means, but we're talking about, again, remember, 3 wolf clans. Wolf clan 1, wolf clan 2, wolf clan 3. If the female heirs become extinct, if there's no other female in that line to be able to appoint the chieftainship titles, now it's identifying if there's no female heir, but there are still men in that title. So if the female from female 1 dies off, there's still female wolf clan 2 and wolf clan 3. Now, Wolf Clan 1 males are still there. There's no females there. So there's nobody to hold the title, nobody to convey it. So this is when the chiefs, meaning the female chiefs, the male chiefs of the nation, will take the title and put it into uh, one of the other uh, wolf clans, either 2 or Wolf Clan 3. So once it's in there, that the Wolf Clan mother in Wolf Clan 2 and or 3 cannot put in any of their sons, meaning from Wolf Clan 2 or Wolf Clan 3, because there's still sons there from Wolf Clan 1. So unless they are ineligible, then of course, then you go to Wolf Clan 2, Wolf Clan 3. So you know that if there are no more women in Wolf Clan 1, then you know that eventually the Wolf Clan men also will become extinct. There will not be any more Wolf Clan men there in that original Wolf Clan 1. So, until the time that there is no men, until the last one dies off, they are not, the new heirs of the title are not to appoint any of their own children, any of their own sons. It has to be from within Wolf Clan 1. So just so that maybe there's a confusion there as to uh, passing the title from one sister clan to the other. Okay, so I don't know any if there's any question on that or anything. If not, we'll continue. Okay, so okay, so we'll continue. Wampum 47. If all the heirs of a chieftainship title become extinct, and all the families in the clan, then the title shall be given by the chiefs of the confederacy to the family of a sister clan, whom they shall appoint. So you already know what that means. What this also means, it could be that if all the wolf clans become extinct, Wolf Clan 1, 2, and 3 become extinct, then that title will go over to either it will go back to the turtles, and if the turtles are extinct, then it will be handed over to the bears. Now, if everybody's extinct, no more titles anywhere, no more eligible sons or daughters anywhere, then it will be under emergency conditions. And then you all know what the emergency conditions are. Okay, so if there's anything on that, if not, we will continue. Okay, 1.48. If any of the Odiane women, heirs of a titleship, shall willfully withhold a chieftainship or other title and refuse to bestow it, or if such heirs abandon, forsake, or despise their heritage, then shall such women be deemed buried, and their family extinct. The titleship shall then revert to a sister family or clan upon application and complaint. The chiefs of the confederacy shall appoint the family or clan which shall in the future hold the title. That's all still pretty much the same. It's like a template from the previous two Onagordas. But to identify that should a person willfully withhold a title, if they do not convey the title, meaning even if all their, there's no eligible people within their clan, they have to hand it over to a sister clan or to within the wolves or the other clans. Now, of course, there's no reason why anybody would do that, but things such as this are done today. It's unfortunate, but it's along the lines of just greed and hoarding, where they place value in this. Like there is value uh, in the material. There's no value in the material, but people do that in all cultures. They hold on to the symbols of the culture, things like that were made maybe 100 years ago or something. Like for instance, the wampum that we have that's made from my mother's time. So that's at least my mother died 30 years ago, so it's from before 30 years ago. Now, some people covet that. They put value in that, and they will hold on to that. And then, if they hold on to that, there is no official symbolage of that they're carrying that title. And so, after a period of time, it'll just be forgotten. This is what happens, like in all things, people end up forgetting, but they hold on to things that might be identified as cultural heritage, and then those things end up getting sold. Or, like for instance, we'll use the example of the Anishinaabe with their belts. You know that those belts were wrongfully held by someone who did not have the right to hold those wampum belts. And over a period of time, after that person died, then everybody else just forgot where those belts come from, where they belong, and so the belts do not go back to where they belong. And when that happens, then it's just those belts become a matter, or not a matter. They become a thing of cultural heritage, and so then people again covet that thing, and they'll place value within that physical belt. When the reality is that that belt does not carry any any value other than the time that it took to make it, and yeah, the making of the shells, and then the time that it took to put it together. It doesn't carry any wealth or any purpose or any meaning after that. But in today's world, this is what has happened to the Anishinaabe belts, is that now those belts are considered to be some kind of, like to hold some kind of, I don't know, like a mystical importance or something within that nation. And when that happens, then it's like right now with them, with the Anishinaabes, all those belts are now under glass. And meaning under glass, it turns the people to porcelain, where they can be broken, where they are not any longer in control of their own fate. Their fate is placed within that object, or that object that is deemed to hold cultural importance. There is no object that holds cultural importance. The culture is in the people. It is in the hearts and the minds of the people. But when people covet that physical thing, the material, then this is where people lose their identity. And so this is the only way that somebody can be holding on to something that, like in the sense of being able to refuse to bestow it upon anyone. So it is not something that has ever occurred. It is something that is thought of, that is considered to be a possibility. And so wherever there is a possibility of something, then there must be something within law to be able to deal with that circumstance. And so that's what this particular order is, even though something like that has never occurred. Okay, if there's anything on that, if not, we'll continue. Okay. Well, another thing in there, where it talks about if the woman heirs forsake their heritage. This is something that is along the lines of what we talked about in the last, I don't know when, sometime in the recital anyways, that there are people who believe that they can retire. So that if you believe you can retire, then you are forsaking your heritage. You are turning your back on it. Because if you believe you can retire, again, it's like along the lines, can a mother retire from being a mother? can you retire from being a human being? There's only one time you can retire, and that is in your death. You cannot retire any other time. If you remove yourself from your motherly responsibilities, your fatherly duties, then the reality is that you're just pulling yourself out of the collective of humanity, pulling yourself out of the reality of that there is no such thing as retirement. There is, you retire when you die. That's it. Retirement is a non-native construct that is a result of male dominance that isolates human responsibility down into a 40-hour-a-week job. And that when you are locked into that kind of repetitiveness, that kind of slavery, then of course everybody wants to retire from that. You can't wait to retire. And this is one of the craziness of in the non-native world, of that how the humans are no longer doing human things. They're sitting in rush hour traffic for maybe 4 hours a day, sitting in a jail cell for 8 hours a day, and then when they get home, they're disconnected from their responsibilities to their families, disconnected from responsibility to their children, to their parents. You know that parents, elders, are discarded today. They are not taken care of. They're put into convalescent homes, old age homes, someplace where someone else will take care of them. And it's the same thing that is done with your children today. That all day long while you're in your jail cell, that your children are discarded. They're left, their minds that are being molded by somebody else, not by you. And of course, this kind of behavior, it puts a stress on the human condition. It puts even if you cannot detect it yourself, it's a stress on the human condition where if you have babies, you know those babies are your responsibility to take care of. You send those babies away 8 hours a day to go be taken care of by somebody else. Your subconscious is aware. You're turning your back on your responsibility, literally. And if you have done this, all women, then emphasize it to yourself that you did, in fact, turn your back on your responsibility to raise your children. If you're a male and this is what you have done, emphasize that, to own that reality, that this is indeed what you have done. If you're 65 years old and you're retiring from a lifetime of enslavement, being in your jail cell for 40 hours a week for 40 years, then you're retiring from not taking care of your family. Now, people can say, well, you got to put food on the table, so you being in your jail cell working is what enables you to take care of your family. Well, a stupid person will permit that to be the reason to justify why they were not there taking care of their children. When my ex became pregnant with my first son, I was 35 years old. And at that time, I said I was an iron worker still, like my father, my brothers, my uncles, my grandfather. And I said I was not I was gonna drop my membership in the Iron Workers Union. That I would not have that to fall back on. I said that if I'm now that I have kids in the world, that I am not going to do what my father done. And what my father done was he fell victim to what everybody else did here in saying that in order for them to provide for their family, they had to leave their family. They had to go somewhere else to earn money to provide for their family. How can you provide for your family when you're not there? That is not providing. That is a trade-off that the person makes. And of course, they convince themselves that they are providing. You cannot provide for your family if you are not there. That's the bottom line. No matter what, providing for your family, your children, is meaning to take care of them, not from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. You're taking care of them all the time. And so, how can anybody say that they're taking care of their children if they are not there? Join the day your child is confronted with something, bullying or something. Your child depends on you to direct them, to tell them what to do. Your child, if they cut their foot, they are dependent on you to fix them, to heal them. If they're hungry, they are dependent on you to feed them. When they are feeling a lack of love or whatever, they are dependent on you to show them love. Now, how can you do those things if you are not there? This is the corruption in a non-native society. You allow yourself to believe that you are taking care of your family, you're providing for them, when the reality is you are not. And so, until this is confronted within the collective of society, all of society is abandoning their families, abandoning their children. The person you think you are. Because if I had to do it, then there is no difference between me and you. I made sure that I am working, that I let my union membership go, that if I had that to fall back upon, then I would be away working in New York while my sons are at home doing whatever, getting into trouble, crying, somebody else is looking after them. When I had to change their diapers, somebody else would be changing their diapers or not changing their diapers. And so, this is the thing that myself, at the time, there's no way I could live with that. I would have to be a stupid fool to be able to accept that, oh, I'm going away and I'm taking care of my children. I would have to be stupid to believe that. So, nobody's going to change my kids' diapers. Change my kids' diapers. If I am not there to do it, their diapers are not getting changed. If they need to eat at lunchtime, if I'm not there, they're not eating. A mother, unless it's like something for the day or for a very short time, you make provision, somebody else, you leave your children with somebody else, they take care of them. But for it to be 40 hours a week for the entirety of your life, you know what you have missed? You have missed raising your children. That's what has happened. And in this world, all 7 billion people on this planet have not raised their own children. All 7 billion people on this planet all follow the same corruption, sending your children to school where all they receive is lies all day long, where they receive corruptions, where they are taught to be bullies, where they are taught to be racist, to be prejudiced. They're taught all of the worst possible traits in school. They're not learning it elsewhere. They're learning it in school. Which means that you, every parent, has raised a schizophrenic child. You have made your children schizophrenic. Because when they come home, they're another. Which way is the real way that they are? Who are they lying? Are they lying to the people in the daytime at school? Or are they lying to you at night when they get home? They are lying to you. Because that's the way they really are not. They're putting on a show for you. At night, when they get home from school, if you're a parent and your children are there, they're putting on a show for you. They're not really that way. The way they really are is the way they're conducting themselves while they're elsewhere, when they're at school, when they're with their friends, when they're wherever. So, most parents, oh yeah, they got at home with their son. Oh, he's so nice. At school, he's a bully. The parents create that. And the same thing with the daughters. If they're one thing in the evening with the parents, then in the daytime they're another thing. So the reality is that the society, all of society, has made itself schizophrenic. The society itself has inflicted this upon their own children. And again, this is the things that, like we always say, you don't have to don't believe anything that we are saying, but prove it to be wrong. And you're going to find that when you're trying to prove that wrong, you're going to prove it to be right. You're going to prove it to be so. So this is what we're looking at right now. Why is the world so crazy? Why is it all messed up? Because it's schizophrenic. And in the schizophrenic mind, you got to ask yourself, like we always say, if you got different identities, schizophrenia, different identities in the individual body, in the individual mind. Which identity is going to be in control? Even if you don't know what the identities are, what they're like, you can very easily deduce the one that is in control is corrupt, the one that is the most corrupt, the one that doesn't care to step over its own siblings, to even step over its own mother. That's the one that is in control of the schizophrenic mind. Because you got many different identities in the schizophrenic mind. They all want to be in control. They all want to be the one that is making decisions for the body. Now, one of them may want everything to be nice and peaceful. You think that one's going to be in control? There's another one that doesn't care about punching you in the face, spitting at you. Of those two, the one that wants love and the one that doesn't care about punching you in the face, spitting at you, which one of those is going to be in control? The violent one. And so as we know that the world then, clearly, just in this one area, you can detect or deduce that the world is schizophrenic. Just from this one little thing. But of course, as you know, there's many things. So here, just with this, the world is schizophrenic. Let's look at the world. Why is the world in a constant state of war? Very easy to deduce. Because as long as you allow a schizophrenic society to be the status quo, then the corruption that will come out of that schizophrenic society is going to be the worst traits that you could imagine. This is the reason why you got all the things that we identified already. Nuclear power. Who would allow nuclear power within a schizophrenic mind? Who was that? As we mentioned many times, like the thing with nuclear power, everybody in this world is protesting against it. What? It's everybody who has created nuclear power. All the people, think of this, here in so-called Canada, everybody was protesting against the John Tilley nuclear plant. Who created it? Did it come from another country? It didn't. Did it come from another planet? No, it came from all the stupid people here in so-called Canada who through their taxation, through their schizophrenic practice of democracy, ensures that the worst possible traits is what's going to be coming to the surface. It is the exact opposite of the Guyana Recital Goa, where the good traits will rise out of the people. But in democracy, it is a schizophrenic mentality that will guarantee the worst traits is what's going to come out. Hence, again, this is why you got Donald Trumps in the world. This is why in every so-called democracy, again, where everybody said just a couple of years ago, everybody was against the 1%. Everybody was identifying 1% that it's so good, we got to rid this world of the 1%. This was happening in every country, right? Wasn't it happening in Belgium too? Wasn't it happening everywhere throughout Europe? It was happening everywhere on the planet. Everybody was identifying the 1%, and it was not a good thing how they were identifying it. It was all negative. So ask yourself this: how then did every country on earth get in its position of power the 1%? How did that happen? Every country did that. There is not one country through their so-called democracies or their political processes that has put in somebody who is not of the 1%. Everybody is. So you got to ask yourself, why was the country, everyone on earth, protesting against 1%, but then the 1% gets in? That is schizophrenia. So, you know what? Everybody in these so-called countries, in the first world countries, absolutely everybody is part of a collective consciousness that is a schizophrenic consciousness, which means all the individuals that make up that collective consciousness are all schizophrenic also. You're not going to have a collective thing that is reflecting something else other than what it is made up of. It is made up of craziness, so it shows craziness. It's not going to be made up of good and showing bad. The only time something like that happens is when you have different mentalities clashing against each other. And that's it. You're in the streets protesting, saying down with the 1%. While the 1% is in power. Different identities clashing against each other. Okay. Where did we?
49.
Okay, 49. The Ordeane woman of the Confederacy heirs of the chieftainship titles shall appoint 2 women of their family as cooks for the chief when the people shall assemble at his house for business or other purposes. It is neither good nor honorable for a chief to allow his people whom he has called to go hungry. When a chief holds a conference in his home, his wife, if she wishes, may prepare the food for the united chiefs who assemble with him. This is an honorable right which she may exercise and an expression of her esteem. Now, don't forget here, that a chief, we'll use the example, it's a Wolf Clan chief. So, he's got a Wolf Clan mother. So, if he's holding a meeting or a council of chiefs, that his Wolf Clan mother has to be there. But that a Wolf Clan can't marry a Wolf Clan. So, that there are 2 women in that man's life. There is the woman who controls his title, and then there is the woman who controls his life, which is his wife. So, or turtle. So, when it comes time to do the cooking, you think, okay, here's a Wolf Clan chief saying, okay, everybody come to my house. They're all at their house, so you would think that, well, the clan mother would be the one preparing the medicine, the food. The male chief conducting business. So if he's conducting business, that means the female chief is supposed to be right there, right on the side of him, while he's conducting business, keeping a watchful eye over everything that he says and does to make sure that he does not go at variance with what the law is, to make sure that he stays within order of law all the time. So, if she's busy doing that, if she got the time to prepare food for other people? No, she doesn't. This is why it's identified that the female chiefs of that particular clan shall appoint 2 women to do the cooking. Now, 2 women for a purpose, because you always got to have somebody watching over the other. You don't want anything to accidentally go into the food, something that could make somebody sick. If we invite chiefs over to our house for a meeting and they get sick, there's all kind of things on a political level of nations, international relations. There could be things there that people could imagine to be like along the lines of espionage or conspiracy. Oh, we're getting rid of those chiefs. So this is the reason why 2 women, not just one, but if the wife of that chief so wishes, she may prepare the meal. No, there, she may, it's not 2. It is left solely to her. Now, that is because at that point, it is isolated down to that chieftainship title and his wife. And so, if anything was to happen, you already know from previous wampums that whole family can be wiped out. They can be buried, dependent on the degree or the severity of whatever may happen. On the line, let's say along the lines of conspiracy or espionage. We plan to poison those chiefs. Well, if there's 2 women that are just appointed by the clan mother, then you got 2 women watching over that. Odds are it won't happen. But if they were both conspiring, odds are no matter what, you wouldn't have a conspiracy on that level. But when it comes down to the chief and his wife, then there is no disputing if something happens, no disputing who's at the source of that. Either it is he or it is she, or it is the two together. And then from there, it is much easier than to apply protocols of law if somebody was in violation. The investigation, so to speak, would be non-existent. You wouldn't have to have an investigation. You wouldn't have to have an inquiry. It would be pretty much 100% known as to the origin of that, if there was a wrong action, an erroneous action. Okay, if there's anything on that, if not. Okay, so. What was it?
51. 50, sorry.
You're the only women, heirs of the chieftainship title, shall, should it be necessary, correct and admonish the holders of the title. Those only who attend the council may do this, and those who do not attend shall not object to what has been said, nor strive to undo the action, unless such action was done in error to the law. Now, you take an action in a council because, let's say, again, we'll use an example, Wolf Clan Chief does something outside of law. Whatever, gets up and walks across the floor and does something in the Bear Clan. That's erroneous. He's got no right standing up, talking out of place or whatever, or maybe just all of a sudden he stands up. Oh, like the example I gave you of what Leon Shenandoah did in August of 1989, where on his own he stands up and he closes the Grand Council. No consultation with the rest of the nations, nothing, he just decides. Okay, so one individual decides to do that. In that meeting, that's where his clan mother should have been present, which she was not. She was in the mud house because that's how Handsome Lakers work. They identify that women they don't belong, or they belong in the cookhouse. They don't say they don't belong in the council. They just say they belong in the cookhouse. So that takes away the power of the women being able to have the say and the immediate power over their chieftainship titles. So in Onondaga, and all the Handsome Lakers, they're Christians. So the Christians follow the Christian rule of that it's male. And the women, just like in Christianity, don't add up to anything. They're basically owned. And so in that council, there was no clan mother to any of the Onondaga chiefs, no clan mother to any of the Oneida, the Cayuga, or the Seneca chiefs present. None whatsoever. And so there, when he made that choice on his own, without consulting with his clan mother or his brother chiefs, that was an error. And that was of such a nature that determines or identifies treason. Those were treasonous acts that took place in him closing down the International Grand Council. And so this is where that he is to be admonished immediately in the open council. But this is something that is the woman's right. The woman's right is, like we said to you at the beginning of this, that as the mothers, you have the right to openly or privately, publicly or privately, chide me in whatever degree you deem fit. So if you deem fit that it's public, you do it. If you deem fit that, you take me on the side and you say, stop doing this, that's how whatever you deem, that's how you do it. But this is to identify that it is the woman's power. It is not the man's power to conclude in his own mind that he's going to say, well, I'm going to make this decision, and basically don't have to consult or confer with anybody. Doesn't have to confer with his brother in titles or the other nations. It's a corruption. And basically, without this provision, the women have no avenue, no recourse to asserting your power. And so basically, it's like this. Like we said, that unless the men subject themselves to this, what power do you as women have? Are you going to be able to come forward to the men and say, hey, you got to listen to me? You got to do this. There's if the men don't listen to you, what power do you got? Can you force yourself upon the men? Can you force your will? Of course you can. You can try, but what difference is that going to make? Has it ever made a difference throughout all of human history if the women try to force their will upon the men? It's never made a difference. It never will make a difference. It's a matter of the men knowing what law is and then subjecting themselves to that law. If they don't, they are corrupt. And if they are corrupt, well, the only chance you have of correcting is in the public arena. You don't have a snowball's chance in hell of trying to correct your men in private. Because this is the corruption of the non-native world, is that religion took the women out of the public and brought you into the private. And in the private, you know that a man's home is his castle. A man is king in his castle, which means he is law. In the non-native world, male is law in the individual household. And this is why, as we identify many times, it is illegal for a man to remove a woman from her mother. But through religion, marriage, which is a duly ordained by their make-believe God, is a duly ordained ritual that empowers the men. They go and take you out of your mother's house, take you away from your grandmother. Where do they bring you? They bring you into their house, which is where their mother is. Now, their mother, under that reality, is oppressed. So you're going from one, a woman is coming from one household where she would have power, going into a household where she is oppressed. Marriage is a construct that was designed to control women, to take power away from women. Now, you're not looking at from today's standards of what marriage is, looking at from the origins of marriage. The origins of marriage is within religion. And that, any religion, the policy, the practices, the man takes the woman out of her house. And they've created fantasies for you, fairy tales for you, that women are looking forward to that. You're looking forward to be removed from your mother's house. And today, your mothers can't wait to get rid of you out of their house. Turn 18, get out of the house. I no longer have to take care of you. That's a huge monetary burden on people to have to raise a child. And especially once they become an adult, to have to, in this corrupt world of money, that it's impossible. You're not going to continue taking care of your children. So there is a perfect storm in the corrupt non-native world. It's a perfect storm of corruption. That there's one corruption upon the other that leads you to having no choice but to accept and to abide by corruption. So anyways, this is the ugly realities in the world, is that historically, the moment a woman got married, she leaves her mother and her grandmother. She leaves her power. And she goes elsewhere where she is powerless, where she has no power, where nobody's going to listen to her there. If the mother is going to say have any kind of influence, her influence is going to be to protect her son, to look after her son's interests, not this girl, because under those conditions, most of the time, they can say they accept, but most of the time it's like an adversarial relationship. So it's a lose-lose relationship for women. So again, when it comes time for correction, it is best, and really your last line of hope is to make those corrections publicly, to state the corruption, what it is, publicly. If not, well, you know that women a lot of times are ashamed about what's happening at home. They're ashamed that their husband is beating them up or beating up their children or molesting their children or just corrupt. in his household, in his castle. And so women have been historically for thousands of years now, you've been subjected to a bunch of assholes. That's all you've been subjected to. You know, not to say that every man is like that, but the general overall status quo, when you look at the world, try to deny that your particular father, your particular husband, is not part of that general overall corruption. It's impossible. I don't care how good your own father is. In this corrupted society, again, he is only good relative to his circumstances. So we'll go back to that example again about that lion. This will bring things into perspective. Look at that lion's face. You're just seeing his face. Strong, proud, powerful, within his power of being free. Now zoom out a little bit and you see him sitting on a rock. Sitting, looks like his environment. Still looks strong and powerful. Now zoom out more and see the cage, the gates that lock him into that zoo that he is in. So you bring things into perspective. Yes, when you're looking at that lion, he looks strong, powerful, he looks happy. Relative to the conditions that he is in. Everybody. So it's not your own personal happiness that you gauge things by, it's by the overall circumstances. So this means everybody, you're in a state of war. You believe, everybody believes that you meet somebody, you get married, you fall in love. You believe you're in love. I'll say to you, it's not true. Because as you are in a state of war, you are in forced conditions. And in a state of war, you are subjected to, of course, a limited gene pool. And so, under those conditions, like if you got 5 fishes swimming around, well, you're going to mate with one of those 5 fishes. But if you realize and understood that there's an ocean full of fishes, but you don't have access to it, well, your happiness or your relationship is only in relation to your circumstances. So you think you're happy, you think you're in love within the circumstances you are in. It does not constitute love, because the conditions of love would be that, well, to be in love, that you got to be free of any kind of oppression. You got to be free of war. If there is war, you are not in love. You are with somebody, you are settling to be with somebody. When you will know you are not settling is when you are free of war, when you are free of male dominance, when you are free of all of these oppressive things. Then you meet somebody under your own terms, and if you determine that you love them, then you will be in love. Up until then, this world is not in love. This world is subdued. If you're subdued into war, you are a slave to that war. And so being married or being with the person that you're with in those war conditions, you are actually enslaved with them, to be with them. We must examine very deeply about what our true conditions are, to be able for especially women to find out, to discover. Are you in a cage? You got to examine that deeply. Because if you can't see that you're in a cage,